Carlos, thank you for joining us. Before we talk about GENAQ, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about yourself and your previous experience, because you have lots of years of experience working in the world of technology. So, how did you come to be part of a sector a sector and a business so different from your previous experience?
Well, Dave, I don't think there's so many years of experience. Basically, I'm an engineer. I studied engineering in Spain, and then I was lucky to join one of the top technology international companies in engineering software. This company is called ANSYS, is an American company. Mm-hmm. And there I was lucky to get some exposure to some of the most technological companies throughout the world, making some follow-up of them, like Ferrari, Airbus, or more locally Repsol in Spain. I was the technical director of the company in Europe, so I also would have the chance to travel around the globe, to the US, to China, to India, etc. I also took some initiatives I'm somehow proud of in education. So I was director of one master's degree in engineering simulation. It was an international one, and it was kind of successful. And at that time, I also studied an MBA, and then I joined GENAQ to lead this project. Maybe we can discuss a bit more in detail about it.
Mm-hmm, of course. So you've been in your current position at GENAQ for about 3 years now. Over that time, what would you say your kind of great, as both personally and as a business, your kind of greatest achievements have been in that period?
Well, I think when you're working on something that can be considered as innovative, and you're developing a solution that doesn't exist so far, the first goal you have is to make it a reality, and make that reality something reliable that can be implemented in the world, and that you can produce that value you're looking for. And I think that's the main achievement we've done so far, is to make atmospheric water generation a reality in the world, and a ready-to-use solution. And in order to get there, probably the most important things we've done are related to certification. So we develop technology, we implement products, but these products have to be tested and certified. This is so important for new solutions, so they can be really used. Other of the challenges we have been facing is the development of a market. We have a solution that is so known throughout the world. We have to develop awareness, and we have to develop the, let me say, sales channels at the end in order to get to the end user. Now we are present in over 25 countries, which is something we also feel very proud of. And this has been done thanks to a team. And I know everybody is always talking about the team, but in these kind of challenges is even more important, because you're facing a hope for the future, and you need to make that vision a reality for everyone in the team. So throughout their skills, knowledge, and with this attitude of being brave and making that future a reality, I think we have been able to have a team of people highly motivated to achieve that goal of making this solution a reality.
Mm-hmm. And you just mentioned that you're active in around 25 countries now, and pretty much every continent already. Do you have any immediate plans for expansion in any country or area in particular in the near future?
Yes. As any new technology, and most especially in this world we live in today, where communication is so easy, understanding of local regulations, it's easier than in the past. And getting to business relationship with other companies, the expansion is not so much regional, but in terms of a market. Yeah. And when I was referring to new technology, part of your strategy needs to consider was going to be the analysis, the impression of the end customer with a new solution. And some organizations are afraid of changing anything. And on the other hand, there are some other organizations that are keen on new technology. So this is kind of our roadmap, and we have stations that are related to emergency response, where customers are governments, multilateral organizations, armies, etc., NGOs, etc. We have expanded to the industrial market with big companies in oil and gas sector, mining, construction, and our goal in expansion is to go to the more commercial market. And here you can think of, water dispensers in offices, in public facilities, even in houses. So our plans for expansion are market related to these commercial markets.
Moving on a little bit to the actual technology and innovation behind your products, it's a really interesting process. We saw how your generators imitate the process of rain and use condensed water from humidity in the air, and all of this whilst being compatible with solar energy. Now, I think most people, when they think about generators, the immediate images that come into their minds aren't exactly ones of nature. Is it kind of an industrial mechanic imagery? So it's interesting that your process, your method, has so much kind of nature applied behind it. Why do you think it's important for our kind of water sources to have this natural route, and if not a route, at least a natural element?
Well, you've made me think about something I never thought about before, which is maybe we shouldn't call it generator, because we're not generating water, we're just transforming. Maybe we should call it transformer. We are transforming humidity in the air into drinking water. In terms of technology, these involves refrigeration technology, optimization of heat exchangers. It involves water treatment and air filtration, software control, and all these kind of technologies. We have invested over 60 years of engineering to develop this since 2008. It is very important for us to make our solution sustainable. And to make it sustainable, what we want to do is to shorten the water cycle. So this water cycle of rain goes to the ground or underground, is collected, treated, distributed, or transported, if bottled. Used, there's some waste, and then goes to the sea and evaporates and so on. We try to shorten it to make the condensation, so the production or generation, at the same location at the consumption, where the consumption takes place. So we shorten it, that cycle, and to do it without using a lot of energy. So efficiency of the product is super important. And second, with renewable energy resources, like could be solar or wind energy.
Another quality of the GENAQ process is, of course, the water produced is of an extremely high quality, which is particularly valued at the moment in the current situation that we're in with the COVID-19 crisis. I was reading today that your water is kind of invincible against bacteria. Can you explain a bit about this and how the GENAQ water is of a higher quality and why?
Yeah, and this is the easiest question for me, because the process is very simple. I mean, the more complexity of this technology is on producing it at a low energetic cost. That's the difficult thing. The water treatment is easy. You just need to filter the air properly. You just need to be cautious that all materials inside the machine are food grade, so you're not adding property to the water, and do some water filtration stages, mineralize the water, and preserve it without bacteria. And we're using UV, ultraviolet technology for that. Maybe something I could add is that we have just started a project related to COVID-19 in collaboration with our group in order to do air and water purifiers, meaning we are integrated in all of our machines. Not only the water purification to make sure there are no viruses or bacteria in the water, but also as we are treating the air in order to absorb the humidity, we are also treating that air through filtration, UV, and thermal shock to make sure that the air in the space where the machine is located is also virus and bacteria free.
That's really interesting that you've got that kind of a new project going on to react to the current situation. And I've seen it's not the only time that you have worked in kind of crisis management. I've seen that you've had projects in reaction to the hurricanes in Puerto Rico,
Yeah,
also in Mexico, in Panama as well, I believe.
that's right. Yeah.
And I know also you have a unit which is specially designed for crisis response. So I wanted to know, why do you think it is so important for companies like GENAQ to be protagonists in times of crisis like this, like in Puerto Rico, like in Mexico? And why is it important to you as well, personally?
Um, you know what? I think companies should integrate into their NDA processes or whatever. They should consistently plan and evaluate all the effects the company is having. And this historically has been on stakeholders, on employees, but I think it's time to make sure that all companies throughout the world are also considering their effects on its community, and its community is global, from ethical standards and on the environment. So if we're going to make money with this company, we should make sure we are doing it with the rules that we want the world to be ruled by. And this should include environment. I think this is a must for all companies today.
Returning a little bit to that theme of sustainability, of course, your products do have a high grade of sustainability, but also in economic terms as much as environmental terms. Your method is more economic in terms of being cheaper to realize than bottled water, than tanked water, than desalination methods, especially in places where there aren't sources of water close. Why do you think that more global organizations haven't taken on the method that you are using, and using the type of generators that you are using? Do you think this is a change in the market we're going to see in the near future, or do you think it's going to take a lot more time for people to more universally adopt this technology?
I think the short answer is awareness. There's a hyperactivity in everything in the world today, and it's so difficult. And I imagine that in this COVID crisis situation, we are all overloaded with information, and filtering it is kind of a challenge. So for this technology, the limitation we have is awareness, and this is why our dissemination and commercialization development is so important, because we need to get to the end user and make him understand the value he's going to receive from this technology. And this value is mostly related to cost, as you mentioned, to energy efficiency, and to lack of and waste. Our enemy number one, and I'm sorry to say that, but our enemy number one is bottled water, because it has all of these. Yeah, it has waste production, it has a lot of logistic needs, and it has a high cost. So this is our first target. Now, having this said, I think as for many other technologies, and you can think of transportation or power generation, there are many technologies available. And there is no a single one that is giving a solution for all scenarios. So the important thing here is to make sure that the one that has to decide which is the technology he's using for need, is understanding the values and the limitations of each of the technologies. And here, atmospheric water generation is not going to replace all sources of water, but is going to target some needs that are not well covered today. And these needs are mainly in emergency response or disaster relief, in remote locations, and in all those places where bottled water is used, basically.
Fantastic. You already spoke to us a little bit about your kind of contribution in wake of the current COVID-19 crisis. Just as a matter of curiosity, of course, as individuals, we have all been affected in, well, very similar ways by the current crisis all around the world. But maybe the variation is a bit more wide in terms of how businesses have been affected. Could you tell us a bit about how GENAQ actually has been affected by the current situation, if at all?
Yeah, well, we have a negative effect on one side, which is, well, we started the year kind of very good in terms of sales achievement. Some decisions of investments in this technology are being delayed because of the COVID, because there are other urgencies. So that's the negative side. On the positive side, there is more people is more conscious about safety of the air, of the water, and everything. And this is an opportunity for this technology because it produces safe water wherever it's used. So that is opening a market for us. On the other hand, and this is not related to the technology we're doing, as any company or any individual that is given some time to think, is a great moment to do all these things you're not doing because of the daily workload you normally have. And adapting the company to the type of response we should give to this, let me say, new world, adapting our processes, adapting our value we're generating, and also analyzing the market in order to refine our targets. Yeah. So in that sense, it's also been very positive. I'm a positive person, so I'm going to have the tendency to go and look at the positive side. But I think I'm also realistic in saying that this technology is going to have even more opportunities in this new situation. And as a company, we're trying to prepare ourselves. So, for example, in 2-3 weeks' time, more or less, we're opening new facilities. And these will include a very innovative laboratory focused on atmospheric water generators. So that will help us from now to have better products, better tested, and to do faster innovations. Yeah. So I think you have to use the resources you have in terms of time, money, skills, or whatever you have. And this situation was a good opportunity to make sure we're using those resources and we're improving them.
I mean, one thing we find very attractive about your business is it bears in mind these two branches that we've kind of talked about, the environmental and then the social as well, because of your sales drinking water, safe drinking water to people who may otherwise not have had that opportunity. So speaking a bit more generally, given that you are a business who bears in mind both the environmental and the social, both within your sector and outside of it, what fundamental changes do you think businesses need to make so that they are also participating and contributing in these two facets of the environmental and the social?
I think it's a mentality. The problem of mentality is that it is very person dependent. Some people have a mentality, some people have other. To me, the way to achieve it is to integrate it as a function of the company. And you need to organize your company taking these into account. And you need to put goals and KPIs, or you have to measure versus these goals you've established, how you're impacting on the socially and environmentally. And I think it's just a matter of integrating it into the working schemes of the company. Yeah.
Fantastic. Just to finish off, Carlos, thank you so much. We'd like to speak a bit more broadly about leadership, because of course we are voices of leaders, and leadership is a key part of what we talk about. And of course, now more than ever in a time of global crisis, good leadership is absolutely key. In the coming months and years, as both countries, individuals, businesses look for economic recovery, we'd like to know, what do you think is the kind of leadership we need in mainly in the private sector? What is the kind of leadership you would like to see in the private sector and in your sector of technology?
That's a difficult question, you know. We are very lucky, everyone in our times, to have so much information. And we have information about the past, and we can read about history and how leaders in other ages have reacted. To me, that's very important. But we also have a lot of examples, mostly with politicians, because they're always on the news, from different countries, how they are reacting and how they are being proactive also with the environment they live in. From my point of view, there are three things that are very, very important for a leader. And the first one is related to communication. And communication is not only informing others, yeah, and that's very important. Yeah, you need to inform, you need to make people understand the reasons and make people share the arguments and the reason why we're doing something. But communication also involves being informed. And to me, that's a key thing today. You need to be informed, you need to have the real data and avoid getting draft into prejudgments or not so precise communications and then make your mind about it and decide. I think you need to be informed. That's the first thing. Maybe the second thing is related to knowledge. We talk a lot about skills, and if someone is intelligent, or we shouldn't forget about knowledge. We need to have knowledgeable people, and we need to empower these knowledgeable people to make decisions. And about it, we have a lot of resources, knowledge, skills, time, etc. It's important to decide where we are in these resources. So this is the third thing. The third thing for me is to have the courage and the willingness to decide and to assume the risks of the decisions you've made. So these three things related to communication, to knowledge, and to capacity of decisions are the most important things for me, for a leader. Yeah. So this machine, what it's doing is taking air from the back, is condensing water, condensation chamber, then is treating it and storing it in a tank in the lower part here, and then you just click here to serve water. I don't know if the image is going to be good. Okay.
It's coming out fine, yeah.
So this is our initiative to just use atmospheric water here in the office and not use plastic bottles and so on. So with your permission. You know, sometimes you have this feeling of living in a constant draft, waiting for the real thing to come. Yeah. So what I want is to avoid that feeling of one day I will, but to focus on what I'm doing today and making sure that with the resources I have, this knowledge, intelligence, time, or whatever each person has, make sure I'm producing a real value and not just spending time in front of a computer or whatever. Yeah. And in this specific case of managing GENAQ, what I want is to make this technology, how can I say this, cover the right need we have in the world for it. Meaning, if this technology can be used in scenarios, I want first to provide an adapted solution for them, and second, to have these scenarios, these decision makers know about it and decide for this technology. So what I want is to make all these a reality up to the point it makes sense. Yeah. Those initiatives, those projects that are going to have and are having an effect on the world is very important. So it's not only to do the job, you also need to communicate about it. And I think you're doing a very good job there. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you for your words.